waste, and I realize these are just temporary standards. However, on the practicality of it, and this is just strictly a question, it says fecal and food waste shall be moved from the enclosure daily and stored or disposed of in a manner to protect the health and well-being of the animals, owners, and staff. And asking a question of those that know, is this like when I think of myself, lions and things of that nature, is there a way they get them out so they can do that on a daily basis? And strictly a question.
I could yield on that, but I'll take a first chance and we go to Dr. Lewandowski or whatever. But as we discuss that, and some of the things that will come up with, and as we move forward with the standards, we'll deal like with shift cages and those kinds of things so that they can. But these standards came out of the AZA and were standards I think that all of the zoos were following, at least was my understanding, for the care and sanitation of those animals on a daily basis. Dr. Lewandowski or Dr. Wolf?
What we're hoping to do is to have a primary enclosure and then a shift cage so the animals can be taken off the primary enclosure, secured in an area so that the caretaker can go in and clean the primary area without having direct access with the animal as needs be.
Okay.
So there are provisions in the regulations for that.
That would answer my question. Is this, so as the structures that are out there now, the people that have them, they have these facilities in place, and is that what you're saying?
Not necessarily, but that's our goal, is to make sure that everybody has that.
Okay. All right. Point well taken.
Again, looking, to prevent escape, the public safety issue, is what we're looking at. And they could certainly have stronger, but these are the minimum requirements, that we think that anyone that's going to continue to maintain those animals, this is what they need to meet. And so this is the time to get this in place, so they know what is coming down the road. Dr. Wolf, I did mention your name, any add, or you okay?
I guess I would like clarification. So we're not really, in our regulations, we're not really providing for public safety unless we mandate that they have a secure shift area. People go into the area to maintain enclosure. Is that correct?
That's something my take is that we're preventing the escape of those animals. And in order to get these rules in place, rather than deal with all of the language or descriptions that may need to be there with shift cages and that kind of thing, you'll deal with those quickly enough here as we proceed on with developing more of the permanent standards. I don't know if that's a great answer, but we're dealing with the primary escape of those animals and dealing with the cleaning, hopefully that they have a way of doing that. Any adds to that?
I could add one thing to that. These temporary standards, the way the bill is constructed, whenever the standards are adopted by the department, the owners of registered dangerous wild animals have 90 days to comply with those standards. So depending on when those rules are adopted, there will be a run-up for when people can come into compliance with those rules. And I think it's the department's hope that once we get to the part where we're actually going to start enforcing these temporary standards, we may already have those permanent standards ready and in place to where we can smoothly transition from the temporary standards to the permanent standards. And with the permanent standards, we're going to have a lot more kind of meat on the bone as far as different, specific standards for care, housing, and some additional information. So I think that the actual period of time where people will be complying with the temporary standards will be relatively short because the permanent standards will follow very quickly.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Other questions from the board? Dr. Lewandowski.
A number of the recommendations include the minimum standards or equivalent. Is there some kind of a process so that people can bring their equivalent aging material before the Department of Agriculture and get a ruling on that this would be acceptable or not acceptable?
I might go to Dr. Forcier and look for some assistance in this. This would, fall with inspection, and I think that if there were, steel rods or whatever, that would be, equal to or greater than, there are some of those that are going to have to be made, on the spot, with inspection. Dr. Forshee, I hope I'm answering that.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think what we're going to do, directors, as we move forward, the director's going to discuss some committee structure. It would help to put some guidelines for people in place and some engineering, for example, on facilities management. So when we get to that, Dr. Lewandowski, I think the director will help answer those.
That triggers, I don't know whether it was you, Dr. Lewandowski, or someone else from the advisory committee recommended that I go look at it. There was a website for engineering specs or something of that variety, and I've not done that yet. Just trying to get this in place for this meeting today. So I will have more stuff, if you will, as we go forward.
Thank you.
There are no other comments.